Ladies and gentlemen, sit back and get your learn on. Welcome to another episode of Aftermath. That is Scott Brown. I am Ross Padgett. He's really good with money, and I am on my way. And we record that on my way today because I'm ready to get my learn on. Was just told recently, in fact, I was convinced that stocks are basically it. If you're trying to grow wealth, if you're trying to invest, you can go all the cryptocurrency, you can do all that. Stocks still reign king. Yay or nay?
Yay-ish.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, if you look throughout the last 120, 150 years of economic American history, the return on equities, meaning maybe like the S&P 500 or the Dow, is probably the most consistent and highest average rate of return you would have gotten had you put all your money in the Dow or the S&P or something the equivalent. Yes. Real estate's a little behind. I think on average, the stock market has earned 1 to 2% more on an annual basis. It's a little bit more liquid. But yeah, in current times, we have to deal with things like meme stocks, which I guess are technically stocks, although I'm not sure of that.
GameStop, baby, let's ride.
Yeah, and crypto and things of that nature are starting to become distractions. But I would say as a blanket statement, buying stocks for the long term, quality companies, because remember, you're not buying stocks, you're buying companies. And if you view a stock purchase like that and say to yourself, which one of these stocks represents a company that's going to be here 20 years from now and still doing well, that, my friend, is how you get ahead. And yes, it would probably be the thing to do.
What is the percentage of people buying stocks of a company that they like? And what is the percentage of people buying stocks of a company that they think will make them money?
I would argue in this day and age, more people buy stocks to make money without any consideration given to the viability of that company over the long term, the profitability of that company over the long term. I think people believe they're going to catch a stock at a good time, and ride that stock for some period of time, make a lot of money, and then go in a different direction. And we probably far too often mention Warren Buffett on this podcast, but why not? The guy says the best holding period for a stock or a company is forever. So if you buy a stock with the intention to hold it forever, make sure the company behind the stock is a company you want to be a part of forever.
It doesn't hurt to find out a CEO's name. It doesn't hurt, right?
I mean, you could I think you could say, well, why would somebody buy Coke? And everybody should be able to answer that. They're dominant in their sector. They've been around forever. They obviously have decent management. The stock pays a dividend. Those are good answers to why to buy Coke. But if I said to somebody, why are you buying NVIDIA right now, right? I would argue, be willing to bet you 60% of the people I asked that question to would not even know what NVIDIA does. They couldn't give you a thorough explanation of the sector they're in, what their real role in AI is.
I thought it was a lotion for 5 months.
Right, exactly. All they know is it's a stock they've heard a lot about and that it's a stock that's done well. So 100% of their decision is based on that. For me, when I look at a stock and we go to add a stock to our portfolios, the first question I ask is, what is the durability of this company? Are they dominant in their marketplace? Are they dominant in the sector? Are they going to be around in 10 years, right? So I don't ever buy a stock. I've never bought a stock thinking it was going to make me a lot of money in the short term. Now, it's happened, but that is not why I bought the stock.
You said dividend paying stock. Here's a question. I want to put my money in only dividend paying stocks. Follow-up question. How dumb am I?
Not dumb at all.
Yes.
If you look historically at dividend paying stocks, typically they're older, more entrenched, more stodgy. Companies like Coke, companies like Procter & Gamble, companies like Johnson & Johnson, companies like Caterpillar. Those companies, if you say those company names, most people know what they do. They know they've been around for a long time. They know they pay a dividend, and they're pretty sure we're all going to keep buying toothpaste and toilet paper, right? So those are good reasons to buy a stock in a company that you believe has long-term viability.
You know, fun fact about me, Scott, and we'll cut this later, but we'll just say that I once bought stocks. I think they became dividends later. And then, to my surprise, I had like a little over $1,000 in my Fidelity account. I had no idea. Should I be embarrassed about that?
You should be happy about that.
All right, cool. It's a fun surprise. Moving on. Here's another question.
Sure.
I'm a dad. I'm a young dad.
Yeah.
I'm working on it. And I know that there are great financial decisions I can make for my son. And I know about the college fund. But other than a college fund, are there other famous accounts that can benefit my child?
Yeah, so that's a very timely question. So we have the Trump accounts that are not released yet, I don't think, that are going to allow for contributions for a child to be used for multiple purposes. First-time home purchases, college, things of that nature. I don't think all the details are out on those yet, but certainly it sounds like a pretty neat idea, and it's something I think the government, meaning the taxpayers, are going to fund in the beginning. I don't really have a problem with it. The other option I like for young people, your son's probably a little young to be pushing a lawnmower just yet.
Yeah. He's tiny, and he's like 3 feet, a year and a half. He's not doing anything.
Yeah, he's got to be at least 3 to push a lawnmower, I think. But once the child has reached an age where they can legitimately do chores and earn money, I think a Roth is a pretty neat idea for a kid. A lot of my clients whose teenagers have now begun to bag groceries and do those kind of jobs that I did when I was a kid, they're now putting money into a Roth IRA because you get a little bit more flexibility with the Roth. The 529 plans are fine, but they do come with some restrictions. You have to use the money for certain things, books, room and board, and things of that nature. But I would say there's no right answer. It's just what are you trying to accomplish? Some people like the Roth just for the flexibility. It can be used for other things.
I know different people need different plans. There is no one size fits all. What is the biggest factor on deciding someone's plan?
Yeah, a lot of them have similarities. Like some parts of their plans may have overlap, but they're all unique in their own way. So yes, you are a young dad, you have a young family, you have different needs than somebody who walks through my door at 64 and is about ready to retire, right? Their kids are grown, if they had kids, they have their goals to go on cruises, buy the RV. Those are different goals than you have right this second. So certainly one size does not fit all. Again, there'll be similarities, discipline, process, not being too pie in the sky about returns, not reaching too far. One of the terms I throw around a lot because it's a term that's underappreciated is the term ergonomic. You want to be ergonomic. And what I mean by that is ergonomics is the study of risk. And you want to make sure that no matter whether you're a young dad starting a family or a woman retiring at 65 years of age, you want to make sure in your plan, this is common to everybody, one of the outcomes cannot be absolute failure. It can't be catastrophic. A lot of people buy one stock or they invest in one thing and they roll the dice when they do that. And one of the options when you buy one thing is catastrophic failure, right? That's why we diversify. We diversify to protect ourselves from our own stupidity.
And it's also why I think you named one of your books, I Haven't Made Anybody Rich.
It is.
Because you are ruling out the catastrophic failure as the number one priority when it comes to what you believe in.
Well, because if you go to a professional, whether it's an accountant, a lawyer, a financial advisor, or a horoscope reader, and what you want is them to make you rich, you're immediately subjecting yourself to the possibility of being poor forever. The second you ask for that. Because anybody who provides you an opportunity to get rich if you have 100,000, but you think you need $1 million in a year, anything that's capable of that is also capable and probably more likely to zero you out. So what I want in every plan I have is the first thing I talk to my planners about. If I have a client coming in this afternoon and that client, and I'm talking to the planner about the client and we're going through the plan and we're talking about their needs, they need income, they're going to Europe, they're doing whatever, they're going to build a house, whatever it is, the first thing I'm looking at is, are we keeping them from a catastrophic outcome? What is a catastrophic outcome to this person? What would be problematic? What would diminish their lifestyle to the point where they'd be sad? I don't want sad clients. I want clients to grow slowly and thoughtfully, and I do not want to expose them to catastrophic failure. And that is my goal, whether it's a young family or an older person.
Well, when it comes to avoiding those failures, I've basically have only heard of 2 types of investing. All right.
Uh-oh.
I know. I've only really heard of 2. I've heard of buy and hold and then just great market timing.
Okay.
What is there one?
One's real.
One's real.
I'll let you guess which one's real.
I would say buy and hold is real.
Yes.
Market timing is a myth.
It's a lie. It's not just a myth, it's a lie.
Shots fired at half of the people who have talked to me about money. I like that.
Yeah.
Talk how? Why you don't think it's a thing?
Because I've been doing this for 40 years. I've been alive for 61 years. I've literally never met a person who traded their way to wealth. And I challenge anybody watching this to find a person who can legitimize that, who can not only tell you they did it, but show you on a statement that they did it.
How upset do you get when you see so many people clamoring towards market timing?
It's a fool's errand, but it's our reptilian brain.
It's that pattern.
We're looking for a pattern. When you see an ad, I'm not going to name the company, but there's a company that puts ads out on TV, spends millions and millions of dollars marketing.
I'll name them Dave School.
Who spends and what you see in those ads, they show you 2 gigantic screens, and on those screens are red and green lights, and they're flashing, and they also know that stimulates the reptilian part of our brains, the middle of our brains. What you're seeing is what they want you to believe is somewhere in those blinking lights is the answer to your problems when it comes to money. So if you pay them X hundreds of dollars a month to be part of their trading service, they're going to give you ideas. Here's the simple truth. If I knew how to do that, let's say I've been doing this 40 years, I have no idea what those red and green lights are telling anybody. But if you would assume, you would hope after doing this for 40 years somewhat successfully, if I thought there was a possibility that would work, I would be doing it. I know it doesn't work, but they know you don't know it doesn't work.
Whoa.
So rather than saying to you, again, this is the problem. The problem is somebody walks into my office and I say, look, here's your plan. Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to say over the next 20 or 30 years or 10 years or whatever time frame we have, this is what I think you'll need to spend. This is the rate of return I think we need to try to achieve. This is the way we're going to try to achieve it. But it's all long term. You're going to have good years and bad years, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to roll their eyes and yawn. Oh, thanks, Scott.
Yeah, that's not sexy.
That's helpful, right? That's what they're going to do. But that's what they needed to hear, and that's the truth. Now, if they walk into my office and I say, do I have a stock for you? The red and green lights told me that if we buy XYZ, it'll probably triple over the next 8 months. Are you in? That's exciting to people. It's a lie, but it's exciting to people. And the last point I would like to make is...
That's Jordan Belfort, right?
Right.
Yeah,
and
that's Wolf of Wall Street.
That's why they pitch this stock to that person and that stock to the other person. Whichever one goes up, they call the person back and sell them another stock.
Yeah.
Right? That's the old game. So what I would say to you is if a person who's selling you that idea, that somewhere back behind the red and green lights is a person selling that to you, that system to you, right? Yet they're still coming to work every day to sell you systems. If that system really worked, they're selling it to you. Why wouldn't they just do that? Why wouldn't they trade their way to their riches rather than getting their riches from convincing you to trade your way to riches?
That's the best thing we've said on this show, man. If you need to rewind what Scott just said It is such a brutally honest and such a simple observation that I think people will overlook. Wow.
Well, I mean, they're not that benevolent. They're not sitting there, well, I will help the world by giving them these trading platforms. No, they're trying to make a living.
They're trying to make
They're
money.
selling you something. And if it really, it's like the gold guys. Like you see the gold guy on TV, and they're going to start to happen a lot now because we're in economic upheaval. Whenever there's economic upheaval, the gold guy will show up on CNBC and he will sell you the gold coins that are the only thing standing between you and the apocalypse when the you-know-what hits the fan. And the thing that I find so hilarious that people buy this. So you have a man on your television who is trying to sell you gold, which is going to be the only thing worth anything when the world ends. Yes?
Mm-hmm. That's what they want us to think.
But he has the gold.
Yeah.
Why would he be selling it to you if that were true?
So, question, because I can feel a listener maybe thinking, but Scott, you're a business.
I am.
You're gonna make money off of money.
Yeah, yes, my wife prefers that.
Yeah. So what would because I know the difference because you are all about buying and holding and patience and loving your future self, not the now. Love yourself now by buying this now. I guess my question for you is that what separates what you do exactly and what the people that we're kind of coming at right now and what they do differentiate when it comes to your payment. Yeah.
So the difference is that I'm not a one-shot guy. I'm not telling you something that isn't possible. And I'm also a planner. And by my very nature, I'm a planner. I love solving problems. So clients come to me with problems. If they didn't have problems, they wouldn't show up, right? The difference between my solution and their solution is my solution is real. But it's also boring and requires discipline and thoughtfulness, right? Mm-hmm. My job is to take people who have accumulated some wealth, if not a bunch of wealth, and take those people and make sure they don't do silly things with their money like the other thing, so that they maintain that wealth throughout their lifetimes and live the lives doing what they want, when they want, with who they want, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the three things I'm always trying to do. But I am dealing with taxes. And it's not to say we don't ever trade. I'm not going to say that. We do trade, but we don't trade frequently. We may have a position we've had for 10 years where we're like, I think this company's starting to slow down. Maybe it's time for us to take our profits and move on. Or we may see a new opportunity through our research and go, this is a company we think over the next 10 years is going to be something and add it to our portfolio. We may say interest rates look like they're going to start coming down. Maybe we'll push more into our bond portfolio. These are the kinds of conversations we have. We don't say, ooh, that's hot. Let's move everything over there for our clients.
Look, it's green.
Right.
Look at the pattern.
Whatever that means. So the difference is I'm dealing with taxes. I am dealing with portfolios. I'm dealing with lending and mortgage issues and all those sort of things that in real estate, and I'm building balance sheets and I'm building income statements. People walk out of my office not with some grin on their face because they think the red and green lights are going to do. They walk out with their balance sheet and they're like, all right, honey, look, this is where we stand. This is what our income is. These are our expenditures over the next 5 years. Looks like we're all good. Looks like we can go to Europe. That's what I do. All day, every day.
And then I think you just kind of answered this next question right there at the end. Darn you for that. But how do you exactly measure success with your clients? It can't just be, or is it, hey, we're going to Europe next year? Is it a smile? It can't just be a number, I would say.
No,
I would think
it's not. Numbers don't hurt. I mean, if their accounts are moving forward in a thoughtful way and in a way we planned for, success for me is, again, we get all caught up in the numbers. Well, I have 4 million. I'd really like to have 5 million, but you're not spending the $200,000 a year I'm producing for you now. Why are we reaching for something we don't need? Right? We're exposing ourselves to a problem for something we don't need. Now, some people need to be more aggressive, and we try to accommodate those people and be aggressive in a way that isn't going to blow them up or be catastrophic, as I said before. So I think success is, I think you're right. I think success is a smile. When they walk out of my office and they go, we're okay. I'll see you in 6 months. That is success. I can't imagine the 65-year-old person who says, I can't wait to stop working at this job I've been doing for 40 years and then get myself 4 monitors to set on my desk so I can ignore my grandchildren and watch green and red blinking lights that are ridiculous to begin with. I can't imagine anybody saying that.
Hey, honey, have you seen Matthew? No, I'm looking at this candlelight.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the candlestick.
I am so close to a buy signal, honey. Get him out of the pool, by the way.
Oh, I thought it was a little bit more shallow. He's all right? Scott, what's the process of working from start to finish with a financial advisor?
Well, it depends on how complex the situation is. Some people are folks that are just starting out. It's really about building a dream. It's about, you're here today, you're 25, you're 28, you're 31, whatever it is. These are the things you think you want to do, which PS will change over time. But these are kind of your loose goals. I'd like to retire at 65. I want to buy a house in a couple of years. I'm going to have kids. I want to educate them. The wife and I enjoy sailing, et cetera, et cetera. Is building out that dream board, if you will, in the planning system, and then attaching to those dreams the numbers. Like, what rate of return do we need to earn? What amount do we need to save? How many years do we need to save it? When will we be withdrawing? What will we be putting in? There's so many potential factors, especially when you're young, which is both the good news and the bad news, right? The good news is you got a lot of time to deal with these issues and prepare yourself for those years when you're going to need your money to work for you. But the bad news is you got a lot of options. A lot of things could change.
I would argue an infinite.
For sure, infinite. So, but the process itself is really just getting to know the person, developing the system. If you want to get down to brass tacks, usually the person comes in. We have a get to know you kind of meeting. We want to make sure they're a fit for us, which, believe it or not, sometimes people aren't. Sometimes people will say things that I'm like, I don't know that we're the right firm for you.
God, I love when people come out and say no to future money opportunity, because it just screams honesty and integrity and like the right place. I don't know. Whenever I hear that, I go, Scott's the man.
Well, there are elements of that, I'd like to think, but it's also self-defense, because I know if I let a person into our operation, what we do takes a lot of time. It's not easy. It's hard. I always tell people, young financial advisors, when they get a client, they're very excited. Oh, I got a great client and they're nothing but exuberant, and, they're shot out of a cannon. And after 40 years in this business, I'm always happy when we get a new client, because that's somebody we can help. But I also have a little bit of a sense of burden, because I know what we have to do for that person. Once I take your money, I know what I owe you. And I know the work that's going to go into that. And I know the work that my team's going to have to put into it. I know the work I'm going to have to put into it, right? So I'm not going to take somebody on who isn't going to be worthy of that work, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, they're paying us, and that's not to be dismissed, but at this stage of the game, I want to make sure it's somebody who's on board with me. With an older person who's got a more complex situation, they've got trust, they've got wills, they've got health insurance issues, whether that be through Medicare, they've got Social Security issues, they've got tax issues, they've got inheritance issues, and I could go on all day. It can oftentimes take us 4 to 8 weeks to onboard somebody, because we have to go through the planning process, we have to go through the outcome, attaching our systems to their needs, and then we have to go through the paperwork to make it happen. So I would say on average, for a person with not a lot of complexities, it's a 2 or 3 week process. For a person with a lot of complexities, it can be 4 to 8 weeks.
And that sounds like all the start, but when does your job end?
Yes.
What does the finish look like for a financial advisor?
There is a start, but there is no finish.
That's what I mean by Yoda. You got Yoda vibes.
So you gotta understand that, to me, this is a lifetime commitment. I had lunch with a client the day before yesterday. She's been my client forever. And, I was telling her that at this stage of the game, it's the race is on between me and my clients to see who's going to die first, right? So,
yeah.
it's I'm not quitting on these people. until one of us dies, right? That's how that, the old, there's no way to leave the firm but one way, right? And so that's how I feel about my clients and our clients is I'm in it till the end. So there is no finish.
And my last question for you is, and this is kind of a simple one, and then maybe it's a little commercial, but how often do you meet with your clients? I've always wanted to know that. I've never answered that simple of a question.
So to your point, one size does not fit all. So I have clients, many of which I've had for 20, 30 or more years, who I always joke, I have to tackle them by the ankles. And what I mean by that is they've been with me so long, they're so comfortable with the process and procedures in the way that the team takes care of them, they don't want to come in. They're like, Scott, we're good. We don't, listen, I need to set eyeballs on you, and you need to set eyeballs on me. So those people, I try to get folks who are not retired in minimum of once a year. That doesn't mean we won't converse via phone or email or whatever throughout the year, because most often we will. Retired folks I like to see every 6 months. I like to lay eyeballs on them. I have a client. She's been my client for almost 40 years now, and she lives a little bit north of our office.
That doesn't even make sense because of how the way you look. Whenever, listen, if you're just listening to this, just know that Scott looks younger than me.
That's absolutely not true. But what my client would say to me is, why do you always got to see me? Why? She could be a little cantankerous. And she'll say, why do you always got to lay eyes on me? And I'm like, because I got to see if you're lying to me. And what I mean by that is sometimes clients will tell you they're fine or nothing's bothering. Yeah. A client will tell you, I'm fine. Like when my wife says I'm fine, I know better. Right. So I'm fine. Maybe you are fine, but I want to lay eyes on you. I want to go through a couple of scenarios with you. Yeah, you were planning that trip. You okay with the way we handled that? Yeah, you need to borrow some money out to add on to your house or whatever. Are you comfortable with that? I want to see if they're nervous about something. I want to see if there's part of the things that are happening economically throughout the world that maybe they're uncomfortable with and they're not saying to me. Because if I don't do that, if I go 2 or 3 years and I just accept I don't want to see you, they're going to, over 2 or 3 years, build up some issues. And one of those issues might cause them after 3 years to act inappropriately. And what I mean by that is they might freak out and try to take all their money out of the market. Whereas if I'd had that conversation every 6 months with them, I can address those issues as they come up and push them to the side and make sure that they're comfortable.
Scott, that was a lot of questions in a short amount of time. I think you just nailed it. You are the Yoda of money to me, man. I still can't get over the big takeaway for me personally on today's episode is everyone saying, you should buy this. This is how you make money. Well, if that was 1,000% true, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't be telling you that.
No, they'd be billionaires.
That's
right.
Ah, man, I feel like you're my Morpheus now. You showed me the real world.
Ignore the woman in the red dress.
And there it is. Another episode of Aftermath. That's Scott Brown. I'm Ross Padgett. And if you, like I said, if you need some more advice, edgewaterfamilywealth.com. And then if you have my number, call me. I'll say what's up. Maybe I'll leave a voicemail. I'm pretty good at that. We'll catch you next week for another episode of Aftermath.